Please be seated. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I consecrated you. Can you hear those words spoken to you? Can you feel in your very being the truth of that statement? That before God formed you in the womb, God knew you. God consecrated you. The Hebrew also says selected. God selected you, set you apart. Can you feel that? Do you know that deep down? Can you at least think or imagine or hope that this is true? Or do you think, nah, God's talking about Jeremiah here, not me? Well, yes and no. I mean, yes, God is talking about Jeremiah. It's a traditional call narrative after all, but we are all born in God's image, bearing the imprint of our Maker and given certain gifts and abilities to use for the sake of the world. But it's hard, isn't it? Hearing that and remembering that. It's hard tapping into the truth of that and really feeling that calling, that specialness, that responsibility that comes with God knowing you, loving you, having certain tasks for the sake of the world that God would love for you to accomplish. Why is it so hard to be constantly aware of this all-encompassing truth? That God is love, and that love is all-encompassing goodness and truth and perfection and peace. Why is it so hard holding on to that? Remembering that, remembering the truth that each and every one of us is entirely and eternally held and sustained by this goodness and love and truth. I have been sustained by you ever since I was born. From my mother's womb, you have been my strength. Why is it so hard to trust that? To simply abide in that truth that each and every one of us is known and treasured by God as a unique, beautiful, perfect manifestation of the total loving reality which is God. I guarantee that our baptismal candidate this morning doesn't have as much trouble with this as the grown-ups here do. He's only 4 months old, so he is spending more time in that blissful essence of goodness and truth than he is out of it. But for most of us, it's the other way around, isn't it? We spend more time in the scaffolding that we have made, that we have learned keeps us safe, that we think helps us make sense out of the world. The scaffolding that we build experience by experience as we grow up. You know what happens, right? As a child, you do something and your caregiver smiles at you and you feel good. So you do the same thing again, but this time the caregiver is busy or distracted or irritated or whatever and doesn't smile, and so you feel something other than good. Bad, confused, frustrated. You have thousands of interactions like this every day for weeks and months and years, and all of those feelings multiply and begin to harden into patterns. And those patterns give rise to ideas like, I guess the world really is divided into good things and bad things. And those ideas become longer stories that try to explain all of these complex feelings. And all of this coalesces into elaborate theories and powerful certainties about how the world works. Here's several of them. See if any of them resonate with you. You know, no matter what is going on, I'm fine. Just as long as everyone around me is chill, I'm okay. Or, I know that there is a right way and a wrong way, and I know the difference, and everyone should just do things the right way. Or, vulnerability is a sign of weakness. So in order for me and mine to be okay, I need to be strong and in control. Or, I just know what others need, and I love providing it to them because others will love me because they need me so much. Or, success is the only thing that matters. I am only valued because of what I accomplish, and I can accomplish pretty much anything. Or, feeling hurt or sad or even worse, bored, is a total waste of time. There's so many interesting things to see and do out there. You just have to stay positive and look forward and you'll be fine. Or, nobody really understands me, but my inner world is richer and more beautiful and more real and perfect than anything that's out there. Or, it's hard for me to feel safe unless I've thought through all of the possible outcomes and gotten enough of the right people on my side. Or, people are weird, but if I rigorously study them, I'm sure I can figure them out. Do any of those resonate with any of you? None of them? Some of them? You know, none of them are completely false, but neither are they fully true. We all have these archetypal stories that help us navigate this complex and confusing world, and at some level, they do keep us relatively safe and sort of happy. But they are all just pale shadows of the divine reality that encompasses and infuses all of us. It's so hard to feel, to imagine that direct, intimate connection to the divine, to that holy love, that holy perfection, holy truth, holy wisdom, holy will, strength, omniscience, origin, harmony. It's hard to feel that because we have covered over all of these holy virtues with these stories, with this scaffolding of our personalities, with what one author calls the veils of reactivity. Great name for an emo band, by the way. The veils of reactivity. It's hard to really feel that sense of God knowing us and loving us because that truth is veiled with all of these stories. These stories that we settle for, these stories that we have convinced ourselves are more real than the divine reality we all come from and continue to exist in. And Jesus seems to always be trying to wake us up from this slumber, to pull these veils off of our eyes, to call us back to that primary wonder that we are known and loved and sustained, and that this moment is perfect and enough, just as it is. I imagine that we would all like to be like Jesus in today's parable. I know I would. I would love to be able to do and say the exact right thing at the exact right time, always. I can't. The reason Jesus is able to do that and we so often are not is because he has never forgotten. He has never fallen asleep to this abiding connection to God. He has never veiled his awareness of the primary sustaining presence of God in his life. But we all have. The spiritual journey is really one of remembering that, of letting go of those stories, those ego fixations that really don't serve us any longer, and remembering, knowing, trusting that even before we were formed, God knew us. And that all through our lives, God sustains us. And that no matter what happens, God will always love us. May today's baptism wash away some of these veils, not only for Andrew, but for all of us, so that we might see more clearly and know more intimately the ineffable breadth and depth of God's grace and God's love and our part in it. Amen.